Have you ever thought about how your network could help you on a global level? I think a lot of us started out with a local network, working with people that were within driving distance or commuting distance. And then over the last few years, we have gone global. Today's guest, Lynn Howard, lives in Thailand, is from the US, has an amazing network. She doesn't really have any local clients, they're all in different countries. She's built a huge business. She's leveraged her network and she's going to share some of her top tips with you to help you do the same. So, if you want to know how to get more done, or in Lynn's words, to get shit done, this is the episode for you. It's easy to start a business and get busy being busy. And we have all these lofty ideas of how much freedom and flexibility that we're going to have. And we do the maths in our head of how many clients that I need and how much I'm going to charge per client. And then I'm going to have an easy life. And it doesn't work out like that. Lynn Howard is the person that people come to when they're struggling. They don't even realize that they're struggling, but they know that something needs to change. Lynn? Hello and welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jamie. I was cracking up because you know what? Some people don't even do the math of how many clients they need to have in order to make that. So sorry. Not sorry. Thanks for having me, Jamie. I'm super stoked to be here.
I'm excited about this. So you're the co-founder of a business called the Pursuit of Badasserie.
Yeah, one of the current businesses I'm running, but yes, the Pursuit of Badasserie.
You're a coach, you're an author, you're a digital nomad, although you would class yourself probably as an expat, but you're living in a different country that you started in and you work internationally and probably don't have a great deal of business in the country that you live in.
Yeah. I'm a consultant, author, podcaster, all of that good stuff. But definitely, yes, I learned really fast that me doing business in Thailand is not really I'm not in alignment with, which has been a whole journey in itself, but it's been a great learning to see like where I fit in and where I don't fit in on a global scale, especially being here locally for the past 5 years or so.
I remember you moving there. I can't believe that it's 5 years now.
Not quite, almost, but it's almost 5 years. It's crazy. Yeah. It's not insane.
Okay.
And we didn't think we were gonna. I didn't think I was gonna stay either, but hey, it ended up working out that way. So, and I love it. I love being out of country, out of my home country, and I love traveling in this region. It's great. The world is there's so much to see and experience, and so many new faces to meet and have conversations with. It's absolutely incredible. So
I think so. We're recording this over StreamYard, and whether it's StreamYard or Zoom or some other video calling platform, most people feel comfortable with it now as a result of COVID and lockdowns around the world. But we got to know each other before that through this medium,
years
and
before that.
yeah, and that would have been probably 7 or 8 years ago now. And then we finally met in person in Dubai, January 2020, just before COVID was slowly coming in. Well, slowly, just before COVID burst into the global news, didn't it? And I think
Absolutely.
we all came back from that event in Dubai into lockdowns pretty much, didn't we?
I didn't. Actually, what the funny story is I came back, went back to the US. One of my I went somewhere. I can't remember where I went in February. But then one of my grandbabies was born in March. And the day after he was born, I had to leave to go to Bali. So I got to Bali, was there about 2.5 weeks. And I came to Thailand knowing most likely that the world was about to shut down. But actually my ex-husband, who's a friend, my best friend, and he called me up and he's like, listen, martial law is for real. Do you really want to be in a country that's going to be locked down? I was like, yeah, I felt comfortable here already. I'd been spending time here. So I made it where I could stay.
I love it. I love it. Okay, let's jump straight in now. So a lot of people start their business with lofty ideas and dreams of how it's going to change their life. What do you see as the biggest challenge that people have when they come to you?
Well, there's a couple. First of all, is that they're in a hamster wheel. They think that they're in the race, but they're truly in a hamster wheel. So they're making the same mistakes, coming up with the same problems, hitting the same roadblocks over and over again. And essentially, they love the craft, or they might be starting to lose the love of the craft because they can't necessarily get ahead in the way that they want to do. Some even at seven figures, like we have people in our accelerators from startups to seven figures, and we all go through these cycles at every level of our business. And so they are ready for change. They are ready to scale, sell, or at least be in a sustainable way where they could have sustainable growth. And they need that support, that kick in the pants. They need to get out of the hamster wheel, even if they don't understand that that's what they need, but they want to be in the race. They want different. They know that they want it, they need it, they crave it. They just don't know how to get there, or don't have the support around them to get there. But these are people who are ready to roll up their sleeves and put in the work too.
I just wanted to quickly interrupt the show to tell you about our upcoming conference, Circle Networks Live. If you're interested in growing your business, being around great people, and learning from some of the best who are just a few steps ahead of where you are, then I've got a conference for you. Great people, great speakers, all for one flat price. Everything's included. The ticket includes lunch, tea, coffee, refreshments, and everything that you need to grow and scale your business. Visit circlenetworks.co.uk/conferences to find out more.
So what do you do? Because you're a get shit done kind of person.
That is my motto. That is my tagline. Just like Nike, just do it. So I know we were having conversations around this before, but I have a couple of businesses. But the Badasserie brand, we work with entrepreneurs and small businesses globally, typically in an accelerator or group program to help them. And it can be very curated. So our signature program is a 6-month accelerator. It's very curated to the group. We've had up to 30 countries in one group, with lots of people in it. So that's been exciting. But essentially, we help them work on the business, the entrepreneur side, the sales side, some mindset and soft skills as well, networking, obviously, and just really helping them push their business forward. We can help with the technical side. My business partner and I are pretty smart when it comes to a lot of things. Like we have a lot of knowledge, but also we're really intuitive. So, and really, I've been doing global business for a very long time in many scales, from C-suites, big corporations, all the way down to startups. And a lot of the problems tend to be the same. They just kind of look slightly different. The responsibility attached to them are very different, right? So if you're managing a multi-billion-dollar company, the responsibility might feel a little different than if it's just you. But it might not at the same time. So we really just kind of help them either, through the accelerator, through a group program, implement the things that they need to do, have the accountability to get that shit done, and really build the fundamentals and foundations, or strengthen them if they already have them built, in order to get out of the hamster wheel and stay out of the hamster wheel and stay in the race. Doing a race takes training. It takes practice. You have coaches. And the hamster wheel, not so much. You get on the treadmill, you can run until you fall off. Like, okay. But if you want your business to work, you need to get in the race.
And so I've recently rejoined a gym. So we're on a 6-week program, me and Lou at the moment. So we're into week 3 now. Wow, it's hard work. Like, and everyone keeps saying, "Are you enjoying it? Are you excited about it?" And I'm like, "No, but I'm pleased when I've done it." And I think, and I'm starting to feel some differences. I mean, I ache, but I'm starting to feel I can feel that I'm getting stronger. I'm putting bigger weights on as I'm doing the exercises. And I think the same thing applies in business. We have these grand ideas, but we want the end result. I want the end of the 6 weeks. I don't want the hard work during the 6 weeks. But I know that I've got to do it. And the harder I work and the more often that I go, the faster the results will happen.
The right work, though. See,
Yeah.
that's the thing. If you were doing all jacked up kind of work and weren't doing it properly, then what's going to happen? You're going to get injured. You're going to be out of the game. You're going to derail the actual ability to grow. And that's where we find, and I know you know this because you work with clients too. So, so it's the right work.
Yes. But, so the stuff that I'm doing, I could probably in my head think I could do some of this myself, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't work as hard. I wouldn't put the program together in the way, and I wouldn't have the frequency that I'm doing it. Doing it with Lou gives me an accountability partner as well, so it makes it much easier at home to eat the right food and not eat or drink the wrong things. And that's what you get from working with people who are experts in their field. And I think you and I both see a lot of people that run their own businesses that are stuck in the entrepreneur's trap. So they can't get out of the loop that they're in. You call it the hamster wheel. They can't get out of the loop that they're in because they're not quite earning enough money to be able to outsource anything. And they're probably, I think there's a lot more people approaching burnout right now than anybody realizes. And it was interesting because I spoke to someone the other week and they're all about mental health and well-being in the corporate world. There is nobody doing that for entrepreneurs because you're just working for yourself. There's no team. There's nobody looking after your well-being. It's down to us to do it ourselves. So I've seen over the last few years a real difference between people who reinvest in their business and those that don't. How do you help people get started with that, Lynn?
There's so much to unpack there. First of all is I think as someone, and I know that this is part of my purpose too, like my life's purpose. Well, I just wrote a post about it, but essentially forever it was to be the change, to like live in the change and the development of, right? And so I think here is one of those aspects. Like a lot of people see me and they're like, holy crap, I was just at an event yesterday and they announced me and everybody was like, I heard all the oohs and ahs in the room because people couldn't believe it was me and I'm standing right there. And so it's like living that, right? Like living your truth in your business as well, like living that. And I bust my tail. I've been busting my tail to do so. And my team as well. It's not just me. I have a team, a global team of people. But so I think that it is, having that integrity of walking the walk, talking the talk. That's going to be number one. And I think that that's what also attracts some people. But the next thing is like really having an honest conversation with them, because lots of people want the dream, but they're not willing to put in the work. Okay. And I don't know how many times lately I have said, do not complain about the results that you did not get for the work that you did not put in. Like, stop it. And so I have a conversation, or one of my team members, typically, sometimes my team members will kind of have the initial conversations depending on, but either myself or my partner will have that conversation and say, okay, are you ready? What's going to change? What are you willing to do to make things happen? You have to do things differently in order to get different results, and kind of like see where their head at, see where their capacity is at. Speaking of burnout, like you're exactly right. If we're not in self-care, and you know my story enough, I'm a big advocate for self-care in many different ways. Self-care isn't necessarily going to get a spa treatment. It's many different things. Working out is actually one for me. But at the end of the day, like, are they at capacity? Are they teetering on burnout? Do they understand the investment side of it? So it's that real down and dirty conversation. And then we figure out what's the best fit for them. Is it in our signature program? Is it in a shorter, more concise kind of program? And so we direct them in the way that's going to best fit them, and not allow them to take what they think is just the bright shiny, because we know they're not going to put in the work. So we're not advocates for just taking people's money to take people's money. And I know, like, that might sound kind of funny to some people, because I know a lot of people still run their businesses like that. Nope, a client is a client. Not always. And sometimes those clients aren't right for us. And so we have built a really big network across the world to be able to put them in front of the right people, obviously for them to make the decision on their own. But I think that that's really important as well. So that's kind of like the gist. I'm not quite sure if that's what you were asking, but that's kind of the gist of like how we walk through people.
So one of the things that I talk to people about is it starts with making a decision. If you're not happy with where you are right now, you just said this, don't expect to get different results if you're not going to do different actions.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts with, so if you're listening to this or watching this and you're not happy with the results that you've got in your business today, then something needs to change. You can't just carry on. And I use the example of people when they go networking. A lot of people think that going networking is putting it in their diary and turning up. And that's it. And then they do their pitch, however long that might be. And then you sit back and wait for the results. And I was on a call with someone the other day, and my phone started pinging, and it was someone referring me into someone that they were sat with at the time. So I said, I apologized. I said, just give me a minute. I need to send somebody because someone wants to buy something from me and somebody else. And we were just talking about networking and referrals at the time. It was the perfect example. Someone was sat acting as a salesperson for me, completely for free, helping me out, signing me up a client without me having to do anything other than send them a link. And
Absolutely.
that is what I see that networking can do for people. It's not what goes on in the meeting. The meeting is the start of it. That's the relationship build. And it's interesting that you say you've got this network now, because that leads me on to, you've got, I know, a global network, and it's probably not very big in the country that you're in, which I think
No.
is even more interesting, because we live in this world now where there's only so many hours in the day. It's always been the same. And it used to be that you and I would have spent a lot of time traveling to meetings with people. And now you don't do that because the majority of your stuff will be on Zoom or some other medium like that. How has building a global network helped you living in a different country?
Oh, so many things, so many things. And I do want to come back to some nuances of like building a global network, but we'll talk about that afterwards. So first of all, let's talk about when I first got here. So you're exactly right, Jamie. I mean, if we're looking at numbers, just my numbers, not the badasserie numbers, my personal numbers across different platforms, I'm over 35,000 contacts, I think, with all the social media, email, blah, 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 right?
Yep.
So I've been working it for a while. With that, and it's not huge, but it's a lot bigger than most, right? So it's not mega influencer, but it's not chump change. And so what I will say, as soon as I got here and they closed the country 3 days later, the first thing I did was look in my resources for contacts here. I'd already made a few. I was working with a nonprofit up north. I knew a few people. I had attended a big networking conference here. I won't say the name unless you want me to, but a few years prior. And so I had made a lot of local contacts. So the first thing I did is I reached out to some of my contacts, and then I went into the registry of that particular said network and looked for individuals that may be able to help me, looked for meeting times, right? So I was able to really get connected, find out, what is the feasibility of me actually staying in country? What are some of the ways that I could stay in country? And at that point, there was the COVID stamp, et cetera. But what it helped me do is it helped me get exposed to this like little ripple effect of like network here locally, like my local contacts. So I'll tell you locally, because yes, I don't do a lot of business locally, and that's not because business isn't done here. I do have some clients here, but I'm very type A, and generally speaking, Thailand is not type A people, we'll just say. Generally, I am get shit done. Things take a little bit longer to get done here. And so I've had some key clients, but really my clients have always been global, even on the other side with C-suites and et cetera and speaking. So with that being said, what I do use my local network for is to make me feel at home, help me connect people that need to be connected in country. I love to network, and it also helps me feel connected here, right? So not only did it help me navigate being here in a new country, never lived here, and figure out how to live here. It helped me start to build my business contacts. And I've had some business here, but the majority of my business is outside. It has helped me. I've had some of the closest friends since being here too. Like, it's helped build a friendship base. And so a tether there. It's helped me with resources, but also people know people. And most people, unless I'm networking in a small village, most people know people globally. I've just recently started going to KL, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, for those who aren't familiar with KL. And essentially, I went the first weekend to just like get away. I need to get away. But I loved it so much and saw the potential and actually the networking there. I went back 2 weeks later. I reached out to about 10 people that I knew. I could have reached out to more, but I reached out to about 10 people that I knew here in Bangkok. And I said, hey, I want business contacts in KL. Can you put me in contact? Or maybe it was 5 people, excuse me. I reached out to 5 people that I knew, not 10. And I was introduced to a couple of networks, a couple of different people. One person was like, I don't really have a high level contact for you. It would be good. But I ended up having lunch dates with like 3 new people that I wouldn't have met, that who knows what that will become. Ended up getting hooked into a new network, which who knows where that's going to go. And it's just incredible. You never know who knows who. So yeah.
I think what's interesting there is you and I meet a lot of people that are networking for today.
Yes.
They're networking today because they need a client today or this week. And it's like, I mean, we're recording this on a Monday. So many people will be going, oh my God, I need a client this week. I'm going to go network. I'm going to do a load of networking. And that's where it goes wrong, because nobody goes networking to buy anything. And yet majority of people go to sell, and that's why they end up disappointed. What you're saying is you reached out to your network to ask a handful of key contacts. Who do they know that's going to know some people in another place that you could
In a
get
different
involved
country.
with, in a different country, to start to build your network there, and then start the relationship building process, and who knows what might come from it.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite sayings is dig your well before you're thirsty.
Yes.
And that's what you're doing.
100%. I mean, I also did my own work too. Not that that wasn't work, but I went on social media. Because having a global business, even with a team, is much harder because I'm not doing a lot of business here. So I have to work a little bit differently and a little more creative to pull in people and utilize the relationships I've built, because it is that know, like, trust. It is that kind of edification of, and like these people who introduced me to these other people in KL and a couple of networks. But I also did my own work. Like, I reached out into different networks on social media and like got into that group, and then tried to have some conversations in that, and of just like planting the seed. But that's also why I turned around and went back so fast, because the first trip I made good contacts and I wanted to nurture them. And in certain regions, like in the West, making phone calls, texting, different things like that, I think you can get away with a little bit further than like in Southeast Asia. They want you to be in front of them a little bit more. And in the newer relationships, right, being in the face can help, but it's not necessary. Like I have made good business never even meeting people, because of leverage, because of building the relationship, and because of making sure that I'm having the right conversations at the right time, but also adding value and all of the other stuff. So it's always a multi-pronged approach. And I think that, individuals get so siloed in their own like ideations and their own beliefs globally or locally, and they don't think out of the box. They don't like you said, I love that saying. I am totally stealing it. Build the well before you're thirsty. And it's this whole throw card fest. What's in it for me?
Yep.
And unfortunately, Jamie, I will say, the world has become a bit more superficial. So you have more of that. And people always saying, oh, you can make $1 million, overnight, that kind of like sales online. And I can tell you, if you want it for the long haul, it is building that well before you're thirsty. It is planting those seeds. It is nurturing them. You have to get creative with it with a global audience unless you're traveling. But even if you travel all the time, like I was doing pre-COVID, I was gone this. I was traveling all the time. Sometimes I was in like 5 different countries in a 10-day period. Like it was insane. And yet you still have to nurture. You still have to follow up. You still have to like be that. But it might just look a little different than if you're just showing up at your local networking group and doing the same thing.
Yeah. So networking is not showing up.
No, it's not. That's going to a meeting.
Yes. So give me some tactics that people could think, oh, actually, I'm not doing that to nurture relationships. So how can people improve their relationship nurturing?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, go to the meeting with your intentions proper, right? So what I mean by that, are you looking to make new contacts? Are you looking to nurture contacts that are going to be there that you already have? So like the pregame, you need a little bit of pregame so you can have your head in the game. While you're there, you're being observant. You're thinking about others. You're using your active listening skills to hear and not to just automatically wait for your time to like spew out your 30-second commercial and throw business cards at everybody, figuratively and literally, depending if it's live or not, or in person or not. And then it's about depositing where you can. If somebody asks a question, you know the answer, don't answer to sell yourself. Say, hey, did you think about this? Or hey, did you think about that? Or when you get a chance, and this is one thing I am loving about the Circle Network is like being able to edify each other right away. Like you've created a space where this can happen. So edify people. I know we were having a conversation about somebody I met on one call, and on the second or third breakout, I was edifying her to her face. But then on the next meeting that I was in with her, I edified her and did her whole commercial for her. And she was just super emotional, like doing things like that. And I'm doing it because I love what I do and I see the value in her. I'm not doing it just necessarily to put myself ahead, but it is a smart business move to do this as well. So it is like nurturing and like making sure you're paying attention to active listening skills, and then the follow up and follow through. This drives me crazy. If people want to if you want a coffee chat in person or external, like understand what you're going to talk about. That you're not there to sell unless they ask you to sell them. And so have those conversations. What makes a good make sure that it's good for both of you. Like, where do you want to go? How do you want to grow? And you know what? Be honest. If it's not the right fit and you're not feeling them, it doesn't mean that eventually you might not be able to pass them a referral, or eventually you might not find value in what they say. But how you leave them feeling is going to go a lot further than a lot of things. Maya Angelou talks a lot about that. They're not going to remember what you said, but they're going to remember how you made them feel. And so having that and making sure that you're staying up on that, like sending out the link, having those conversations. What can I do for you? Did you think about this? I'm a big advocate too of asking, because I'm a consultant. I have learned early on, don't give away my goods for free. But at the same time, I love to add value where I can. And so I will always ask individuals, and this is important for you consultant coaches out there, Jamie, may I give you some feedback? Or can I give you what I'm thinking right now? Because if they don't want to hear it, they don't want to hear it. Like, and regardless if you're a consultant or not, like that one phrase can go a long way. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, it is the pregame, it's the during the game, and the after game. But yeah, those would be some of my quick ones.
It is. If you're listening to this, just think about that for a moment. Most people just go networking and that's it. It's in my diary. I've been networking. I encourage people to have time in their diary for after networking. We all want people to go away and find us, introductions, and connect us with people. If they don't have the time in their diary to make those introductions, it's never going to happen. In order to receive referrals, we have to pass referrals to people. So we've got to put the time in our diary after a networking event to go through our notes to get in touch. And if someone says, I want to meet Lynn Howard, I've got to be able to have time in my week to get in touch with you, Lynn. Yeah, but to get in touch with you and say, I've got this person, they'd like to meet you about this, would it be okay? Then I go back and do it. That takes time. And unless we put that time in our diary, we're not going to be doing what other people want. We're not going to be doing what we want other people to do for us. So we've got to do it ourselves.
It goes in one ear and out the other. And I love that you said that, because I also will make connections like that I make sure it's good for both sides. But, you know, it's so interesting is that most people will just go into the follow-up or go into the networking meeting about like what's in it for them. They're not thinking about what can I give? Where can I expand? Where can I add value? Where can I learn even? Where can I have the ability to learn in this particular group setting? And we get so pigeonholed in the me, and then like the non-follow-up as well. Like we're it's almost like this, and I talk about this a lot in sales. It's like this start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, and then we're expecting them to like be able to find referrals for us. Another aspect too is a lot of people go into, even if they have the pregame on point, they have the during the game on point, then they go into the follow-up call. And essentially, I've worked with a lot of people like this. Like, let's say that we were going into it and I initiated it. My mind, more than I would say 70% of the time, a lot of times people will go into it to say, okay, I want to try to see if they're the right client for me versus I want to get to know them more. Now, listen, I'm a salesperson through and through. Our second book is all about sales. We have a whole podcast series, our portion of it about sales. I love sales. I've written so many sales trainings for companies and for our team. It's insane. And that's not what networking is about unless they ask, or unless you find the opportunity and start to unravel that. But don't go into it with the mindset of, I'm going to see if they're the right client for me. And listen, I'm guilty of it. I'm a consultant. I see the potential of where I can help people all day, every day. But if they're not ready to take it, or if I'm not the right fit, then I'm only setting both of us up for, I don't want to say necessarily failure, but it could be, but essentially not connecting as much as what we could, because I'm only having like that kind of nudge to say, are they the right fit? Can I sell them? Can I put them in my course? Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Right, I'm mindful of time now. Lynn, tell me a little bit about the program that you run and where someone might find a little bit more about it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be in the show notes, but our signature program is the Badass Amplifier, a 6-month accelerator that will help you get shit done with a global audience. And there's many aspects to it, anywhere from training to group coaching calls to social media pods. So that is really our signature program. We do work with companies, my business partner and I, also underneath the Badasserie brand, to essentially do the same thing, but sometimes they need internal. So we can bring that internally as well. Working a lot of times with companies that have sales teams, because then there's marketers like real estate companies, mortgage companies, insurance companies, etc. Yeah, and we'll go ahead and I guess leave it in there, but it is thebadassamplifier.com. And yeah, or you can just find me on social media, and I got all kinds of stuff to say.
And which is
business, personal and business.
Which is your preferred social media platform?
Oh, I was just having this conversation today. I'm re-engaging on all my platforms, but I do like, it depends, but I do like LinkedIn. But I get a lot of movement on Instagram. But right now, all of a sudden I'm doing a post this is my birthday month, and I'm doing a post a day, more of a personalized post and like reflections or whatever. I'm getting the most activity though on Facebook, which is wild. So who knows? But LinkedIn, any of them, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
We
right.
answer.
Thank you. It's been a while, so it might be that next year's the year that we meet up again. It'll be like a 5-year reunion, I think. I'm hoping at some point next year we're going to get together.
I have a feeling we are.
I think so. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your tips. And I would encourage you, connect with Lynn on social media, attend some of her events, and find out more about how you can get more shit done in your business. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I don't know about you. I'm going to watch this back again and take some notes. And then I'm going to turn those notes into actions. And by that, I mean, I'm going to put it into action. It's the stuff that we do after networking events that makes the difference. It's very easy to go networking. It's very easy to listen to this podcast or watch it. But what you do afterwards is what makes the difference. Go make a difference to somebody else today. Pass some referrals, follow up with people that you've met, and build your network today. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe so that you don't miss out on any more gold dust in the future. Take care.